So good afternoon or good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this week for this week's edition of RPI's Tech Talks. This week, we are focused on supply management, and we will be demonstrating steps to install an Android emulator on your PC to use with MSCM in Cloud Suite version 11. We're also going to be demoing a few sample transactions as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Ludwig. I am a senior supply chain consultant with RPI. I have over 10 years of Lawson supply chain experience, and I am Cloud Suite certified. Throughout my 10 years, I've led several supply chain management optimizations and mobile supply chain implementations in working with Cloud Suite clients. I specifically enjoy working on the SCM optimization projects. I am based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and when I'm not working, really like to be up north at one of our family properties, which is either a cabin or some hunting property as well. Today agenda, we are going to be going through the prerequisites for setting up the Android emulator. Then we are going to go through the actual steps of setting it up, followed by performing some MSCM transactions, cover a couple of troubleshooting tips, and finish up with some Q&A. With that, let's get started with the prereqs. To utilize the Android emulator, the following system prerequisites are required. We must have an active actor and agent record built in FSM. We must have inventory, requesting, and item locations built. If you're going to be creating any par counts, which are going to create requisitions, we also have to have an active requester profile built. Now in mobile supply chain, we must have the user be active, our locations, so inventory locations and requesting locations assigned appropriately in MSCM. And the last item is to have the emulator downloaded and installed on your PC. In my case, the emulator that I'm going to be using is the Remix OS player. Now, let's go into setting up the MSCM emulator. For the sake of time, I have already downloaded the emulator and have it installed along with the mobile supply chain application. But I am going to be going through the steps of setting up the MSCM application on the emulator. So now that we have our FSM and MSCM environments built out, we're going to start with getting the mobile supply chain application on the emulator. First, once we have the emulator up and running, we're going to click on the home button. Now that's going to present various applications. We will click on Chrome as our browser. And in the URL, you will type in your Infor Cloud Suite tenant web address and hit enter. Here you can see that I've entered the RPI consultant environment in which I am going to be transacting in a little bit later. Once we have everything put into the browser, then you'll log into the application as you normally would with your Cloud Suite credentials. Then we will use the application button to switch to Infor Mobile Supply Chain. Once in Mobile Supply Chain, then we'll go to the administrative box, click on System Management, then click on the Installer Download tab, which is right here. Within the Installer Download tab, there are going to be many options, but in this case, we want to select Android, which will result in another tab opening up in your browser, and that will have the available APK files for us to download. Click on the Android shell, MPC, POU, and RAD APK. This will result in them downloading to the device to the emulator. Once all of the APK files have been downloaded, we'll locate the file manager on the emulator, click on the download tab, and there will be your APK files. Double-clicking will result on a separate window popping up right here, And what you'll do is you'll click on install, and once the installation is complete, click done and follow the same process for the remaining APK files. With the APK files installed, we'll go to the home screen and we'll select mobile supply chain. You'll be prompted to set up the handheld profile. Now, it is best practice to enter in the tenant environment where you will be conducting transactions. So if you're going to be conducting transactions in dev, we want to include dev in the profile name. Test, test, and prod, prod. From there, you will utilize the information that is kept in system management under the handheld properties to enter in the mobile supply chain server, public key, and secret key. Once all of that information has been entered, you'll click on Test Connect, and you should receive a pop-up that says Test Connect was successful. Then you'll click on OK, click on Add, and then you'll click on your profile name, which was just created, and the MSCM login screen will display. Log in with your same username and password credentials. Now that we have the mobile supply chain application up and running on the emulator, we can now conduct some transactions. So this portion is really where you will see the benefit of the emulator. The emulator is going to look and behave as if you are holding an Android in your hand, especially in times like these where we must adapt to new situations. This allows the users to really be able to troubleshoot and test mobile supply chain as if they had a handheld. So for the mobile supply chain transactions, the three transactions that I'm going to be conducting is going to be a par count, issue, and picking. So with that, I am going to switch to a different screen so you can see the emulator. And so I'm just going to change screens. There we go. Okay, perfect. So now you can see the emulator. So on the left-hand side, this is the emulator. To the right of that, we have the RPI dev environment where I'm going to be conducting these transactions. So for the first one, what we're going to do is a par count. So I'm going to go to MPC, and another window opened up. And once the image displays, I'm going to click on the three lines and I'm going to click on par count. So here we have my company, and to add the actual locations that I'm going to count, you would click on the plus. And here is your My Par forms. I don't have any My Par forms assigned to my ID in mobile supply chain. So I'm going to hit the down arrow and click on all par forms. For this par count, I'm going to do the Sunnyside location, and I'm going to click on OK. So once this comes up, we can see that I have 7 items and I last counted it today, and I'm going to click on the par. And so now I'm actually in the par, ready to start doing my counts. For these items, I'm going to put in 0, click next. At 0, I'll do 5 for a count quantity. And let's do next. Let's do 5 again. Let's just do half quantities. What do we say? So we'll just do next, 5. Oops. And we'll do 50. Next. And we'll do 5. Okay. So we can see that I'm on the 7th of 7 items. I'm going to click on done. So on the left-hand side, we got our bar graph that shows how many items that I counted. And so now all you have to do is click on the paper airplane, and we get the message that the par counts have successfully been sent to the server. So that's how we do a par count on the emulator. So now what I'm going to do is go through issues. So we'll close this by clicking the back arrow, and I'm going to click on RAD. So once the image pops up, I'll click on the 3 lines and I'll go to issues. So once this displays, we'll have my company and we'll have the inventory location that I'm assigned to. So all we have to do is really just choose our requesting location. So I'll click on the 3 dots, go to requesting location, and for this example, I'm going to conduct a transaction to 6000 Baltimore office, and I'm going to click on done. So as you can see, there's still no requesting location, so I do have to select one here, even though I did select one above, but in above would be if we were selecting multiple locations, but in this regard, we just had the one. So I'm just gonna click on my 14,6000. So now in this case, my requesting location has been assigned, and I'm going to choose select item. So we can either scroll through, or you could type in your item number, but in this case, I'm going to issue out this airway. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to change my count to, let's say, 3, and I'm going to click on add. So now it returns you to this main screen. So if you wanted to click on select item to add additional items to the issue, we certainly could. If you're done, you're going to click on the Rubik's Cube. It's going to give you an overview for if you ever want to change anything. Then you click on done, and you click on send, and then we receive the same sort of message saying that the issues have been sent to the server. For the last transaction, which is picking, I'm going to stay within RAD. So I'm going to click on the 3 lines, go to picking, and my company and inventory location popped up, and I'm going to choose shipment 66. So I'm going to click into the box. Now there's a check mark, and I'm going to select download. So now this would download it to my specific handheld or emulator in this case. I'm going to click on the shipment, and here you would go through and indicate the quantity that you're pulling per item on the shipment. So I'm going to say I'm going to pull 1, and we can see that the quantity goes to 0. I'll click next. 1, quantity goes to 0, next. And for the last item, we'll do 1, quantity remaining goes to 0, and I'm going to click on done. So then with being done with the shipment, when I click on send, I'm going to receive a message saying that I do not have a selected printer. And the reason why I received that is because my user ID is not tied to a label printer. And so when I click on the 3 dots, I'm going to select label printer. I'm going to select this printer. And now when I click on the send button, now when I click on the send button, there we go, I get the picking summary. So here we can see that everything went. My delivery documents are being printed to this printer, and my labels are being printed to this printer. So that's the mobile supply chain transactions. And so I'm just going to hit the back arrow. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the reports within mobile supply chain. So what this is going to be is just to verify that the transactions that were initiated in the emulator went to mobile supply chain and are now in FSM to make sure that our transactions went across correctly. So I'm going to start with my part count, and I'll go to part and cycle counting, part counting, reports. I'm going to choose my company, which is 1499. My dates are in there, and I'm going to hit search. So with this one being the later time, I'm going to click on count details, and here we can see upload complete as the overall status. Each of the lines are upload complete. I have my requisition number, so I know this part count made it successfully into FSM. To go through the issues, I'm going to go to receiving and delivery, issues, reports. I'll choose my company of 1499, inventory location of Balt, and I'm going to put in today's date, and I'm going to hit search. So here's my transaction that I did the direct issue on. If I click on view, I can see upload complete at the line, upload complete at the header. I can see the document and the tracking number that was created. So I know this one made it successfully into FSM. For the last one, we'll go to picking. Same thing within receiving and delivery. We'll go to view search. We'll go to inventory company, inventory location of Bolt. Now for the from request date, because I created these transactions last week, I need to extend the date out. So I'm going to choose the 4th, then I'll hit search. And I picked shipment 66. Here's my release. And if we wanted to view the delivery documents, we could do that there. Okay, so now that we've conducted our transactions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the screen back to the PowerPoint. So I'm going to go here. Okay. All right, perfect. So it looks like everyone is viewing the PowerPoint. And so now that we've performed the transactions, what we're going to do is we're going to continue on to the troubleshooting tips. Okay. The emulator that was used today, just to recap, was the Remix OS player. Now, the following troubleshooting tips that are presented here were gathered from other consultants that have downloaded the player and based off of their OS or their Windows versions ran into some obstacles. And so these are the fixes for those obstacles. The first one being upgrading your HAXM. Now that is as simple as just really going, downloading the newest version, and then really just doing a swap out of the HAXM that comes with the Remix player with the newest one that you just downloaded. Now, the JIDE setup wizard, when you first, oftentimes what we've seen with these consultants is that when they start up the emulator, it will show the screen and then it will go black. And if you just sit there and let it wait, you will eventually get a pop-up that says JIDE setup wizard not responding. Now, if you click on wait, and you may have to do this a couple of times, if you click on wait, what it's doing is allowing the setup wizard to actually start processing, to start whatever service it's trying to, and then your screen should appear. So those were the tips that were used by the consultants that experienced these issues to resolve them. So hopefully with that, if any of you experience any of those issues, you can just resort back to this to find the solution. Now we'll move on to the Q&A portion of the Tech Talk. So what we covered today were the FSM and mobile supply chain prerequisites, the steps involved in loading mobile supply chain application onto the emulator. We conducted some mobile supply chain transactions, and we covered some troubleshooting tips. So with that, are there any questions that I can answer for anybody?
We had a couple questions come in, and feel free to continue typing them in as we go through these. So the first question is it possible to set up multiple profiles on the emulator so it can be used with multiple environments and or tenants?
Yes, and actually that is recommended. Kind of what I discussed earlier when we were setting up the profile. It's highly recommended to set up the profiles with the tenant names. Therefore, you know which environment you're conducting the transactions in. So yes, and it's recommended.
Okay. Another one that came in. What MSCM role or group do I need to be able to see the system management section where you downloaded the APK files from?
Okay, so to see that portion within mobile supply chain, you either have to be part of the SA group, or if you created any custom groups, as long as that group has the properties management role, you should be good to go.
Okay. And then the last question says, where can I find the public key and secret keys to be able to log into the handheld on the profile setup?
Sure. So this is one that we commonly see. So if you go into the mobile supply chain application and you go to administrative tab and select system management, on that first tab within system management, it's properties. And if you scroll down, and I can't remember how far down exactly, but there you will see a section called handheld properties, and that's going to give you your MSCM URL, and it's going to give you your public and secret key as well.